And something I really wanted to have a conversation with Dr. King because he was opposed to war. Military was the way for me to reach a goal that I had set, and I wanted to have that conversation with him, and I never did. I never did have it, and even in Chicago, we never talked about it. But he knew that I was a Vietnam vet. Then in Atlanta, I would see him because he'd come by Morehouse, and he would always say, "Hey, come by the office and talk to me." And I just thought he was being nice and gracious, and I never did. And I regret not going by and just having to sit down with him because he invited me several times.
That's amazing.
And his press secretary, Junius Griffin, and we got to be, kind of good buddies. We talked, but I said, Dr. King is just too busy. I'm not going to take up his time. Yeah.
But he being the figure that he was at the time took enough interest in you to say, hey, stop by.
Yeah.
That's the kind of man he was.
Yeah. And
So I've got to ask you this, and if you don't feel like talking about it, I totally respect it. You're in this program, and you find out that he's killed.
Mm-hmm.
You having had a relationship with him, what did that feel like to you, and what was the feeling of the other men, black men? I would assume I would think that most black men, not white men, would be concerned about it. But what was it like, and what was the feeling like?
Well, it was hurtful, but it wasn't unexpected. Yeah, it wasn't unexpected. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he knew that.
Yeah. So, and even during the Albany movement, I it was dangerous there. And I think the only reason he wasn't killed early was because of media spotlight. Yeah.
So Dr. King, we're learning a lot about Dr. King, the other side of Dr. King, right? The side that talked about coming to get our check.
Well, now that's not the other side. You've had one narrative that was pushed by the social structure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have Dr. King, who was reviled, and all of a sudden now you got a holiday, you got buildings named after streets. It's like, wait a minute, wait, what? Mm-hmm. Here's a man that's saying, hey, live up to what you say. You were against him when he was alive. Now he's dead. Now there's all of these accolades. So that didn't resonate with me. I mean, it's like that's
you're
not quite right.
You are one to speak on that because, when I was growing up, we got, and that's why I say a different side.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean it that way, but if you can understand, we got one profile.
Oh, you got the dreamer.
King.
You got the dreamer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We got every household you went to when I was growing up had that wooden plaque with King and the two Kennedys, right?
Yeah.
So absolutely.
Yeah. So the thing is that he said he was a drum major. Mm-hmm. And basically he was a leader for basically peace and justice and righteousness, and for this country to live up to what he said his creed was. That was the real king.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this dreamer stuff, I mean, it's like, no. He was dealing with reality a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, he got stabbed by a black woman in New York. So I mean, he understood the danger. He understood where he was. He understood the country. Mm-hmm. He also understood a higher calling.
Yes. Yeah.
That we should seek truth.
So when he talked about, Vietnam War, he talked about, all the goodies, giveaways, and special treatment that our white counterparts were getting that black people didn't have access to. And he talked about those kind of things. It seemed to me that that was the thing that people were like, okay, it's enough. But are you telling me that these are themes throughout that whole time he was talking about in conjunction with the civil rights movement itself?
Well,
You see what I'm saying? Like,
right is right and wrong is
Yeah.
wrong.
yeah,
So if you are a real Christian and you believe in your 10 commandments, you know, do you realize that Ho Chi Minh came to the U.S.? He wanted to talk to the president. You realize that he was an ally during World War II, and he and the Vietnam were picking up downed airmen. He wanted, quote, the freedom that he perceived the U.S. to have, and then they fought against it.
yes,
You know, they fought against, but the U.S. sided with their French ally and went into Vietnam.
yeah,
And of course, there's a lot of other geopolitical aspects to it too.
yes,
You know,
yeah.
but the thing is, the U.S. decided to do that.
So Dr. King speaking on these things, you know,
Well, if you know that black people were not given opportunities, land, education. I mean, the thing is, we were always at a disadvantage. That's what he was fighting it for. But then it was for all humanity. That was the peace. But he wanted to make sure that his community got the right treatment, got fair treatment. You know, that we weren't continually put in a position of degradation.
right, right,
And when you look at the amount of money that goes to war versus homelessness, education, just people being treated in a humane way,
yeah,
if he believed what he said he believed in, what other position would he take?
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you get through that period, and now you're actually flying. What was some of your first assignments?
Well, became a flight instructor, then a gunnery flight instructor.
But you were going on missions before that, right?
No. This is still in the States. After
Okay.
I graduated, I became a flight instructor, gunnery flight instructor. Went to safety officer school, and went to a general maintenance officer's short course. Then I trained new pilots in this newly formed unit, the 4th Battalion, 77th Field Artillery. The unit I was flying in was called Aerial Rocket Artillery. And I found out a couple of years ago that the 77th Artillery was a black artillery unit in World War II.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so anyway, I deployed to Vietnam in December of '68 with the 4th of the 77th, which was assigned to the 101st Airborne Division.
And how did you feel about that?
Well, I was flying, and that was the goal from 4 years old on. So I'm flying, I'm in Vietnam, but the one thing, having been on the ground and having some of the experiences I had on the ground, I flew a lot of single ship missions. We'd fly in what was called a section 2. In a platoon, we had 4 gunships, and we had 2 sections. And being an instructor and having been a Vietnam veteran, usually I was a section leader. But there were times that my wingman said, "Oh, it's too dark, I can't see." But I knew when the troops called and they were in trouble, and they needed that support, I'd go. So I flew a lot of single ship missions at night.
Wow.
I'd ask my co-pilot in my front seat, "Hey, can you see well enough to navigate? keep us from running in the mountains? And can you read the map to get us where we need to go? If he said yes, we went.
That's amazing.
And one of my trips was near the Ashaw Valley, just east of the Ashaw Valley. We got called upon to go out, and so we crossed over the Perfume River, went down another valley. We made it out to where these guys were, and they had their strobes on, and they gave us an azimuth to fly, and from their position. So, I shot for them, and I said, now, hey, I'm only going to make 2 passes. The first pass, for my first pair of rockets, you need to adjust me for where I need to unload everything I got.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I'm on my gun run, I've got one eye closed to preserve the night vision in my other eye.
Yeah.
So because you got those rockets, you have the light from the rockets that blinds you, So it's like, okay. so I came around, made another pass, and unloaded the remainder of the rockets. I think it was about 74 rockets went out at one time.
Jeez.
And I asked them, I said, okay, did that do the work? And they said yes. So now it's the cloud cover is come in, so now I can't fly back down the valley that I came in. So now I'm making climbing turn up to about the clouds were at about 14,000 feet, the tops of the clouds. So now I'm headed east to fly over the South China Sea. So I flew for 20 minutes. So I should be over the South China Sea by now. So now you can't, no ground reference. So it's like, just estimation of time and distance.
Mm-hmm.
So I descended, and it was in the clear, descended over the South China Sea, came inland over a non-directional beacon, and then shot an approach into our refueling point. So, but that
You
was...
say that like it's like just another day, like,
Well, it was. Look.
I'm sitting over here like with my eyes buck wide open, and you're like, yeah, this is just...
Almost every day when I was flying Cobras, that was a bounty on Cobra pilots' heads. So, almost every day you went out and fly, you subject being shot at, and that were days that I was shot at. In fact, I got into a dueling match with the 50 caliber.
Wow.
So he's on the side of a mountain. I was making a gun run parallel to the mountain that was being shot at. The infantry on the ground said you're being shot at, and my wingman said I was being shot at, but I didn't see the rounds coming at me. Mm-hmm. So I broke off and I headed towards the mountain, and I said, "Hey, give me vectors," my wingman. So he directed me, and now I'm seeing traces go right by my canopy. Mm-hmm. So now I'm shooting rockets at him. He's shooting machine gun bullets at me. Jesus. And so. And I can't turn, because if I turn, I'm going to give him a bigger target to hit. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So just before I got to the mountain where I need to pull up, the last pair of rockets went into this bunker. And again, that was about survival. That's about just doing your job. But again, there ain't nothing glorious or glorifiable about war.
Yeah.
It's a horrible business.
So how many years did you served that time?
An additional 7 years. So total of 10 years active, a little over 7 years.
Okay,
so 10 years active.
I asked you a question earlier that I had your timeline incorrect. So you were in throughout the 70s.
I got out in, I think, 72, 73. Yeah.
Okay, so just before the official Indiana War.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. I put you further out than that.
Yeah.
Okay. So you were in the mix. I mean, pretty much almost to the end.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
2 tours. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.